This is Associate Professor and Interim Chair Todd Sherman. So you're new to this position. How do you feel about that?
I have no reservations. It's kind of one of those things where, your first year at anything that you do, it's a learning process. I know that, so I know I'm going to make mistakes. But we have a tremendous resource on campus. I can talk to other chairs. The former chair is still part of the faculty here, so I'll be just talking with her. So I'm not really concerned about my transition, and I feel pretty good about it.
That's great. I'm sure it does make you feel better to have a close someone there to help you feel your way through everything.
It does. It makes a difference. It really does, and that's one of the things that I considered. I weighed my options in taking on this position was, how much support was I going to have, and was there access to resources, because no one wants to make the wrong decision based on them not having the resources to make that decision. So that's not the case in this situation.
What type of background do you have? What is your degrees in?
My bachelor's degree is in physical education, and I received my master's in physical education with a concentration in sports administration. After that, I worked for 5 years in the hospital. I used to manage a rehabilitation wellness facility, and I just decided to go back and get my doctorate degree. So I have a Doctor of Arts in physical education with a concentration in exercise science.
And so what was your main reason, what drove you to go into higher education?
When I was working on my master's, I was a graduate assistant, and I absolutely loved it because I thought it was very, at the time, cool that I was so young, but yet I was in charge, if you will, over all these students, and they're listening and taking notes, and it was just it was a very humbling experience, and I kind of saw right there that, wow, I can make a huge impact. Of course, I tried to go into doctoral school or program right after my master's, and it was funny because every letter that I received was, they kept saying, well, we would like for you to have at least 5 years of experience. And so, lo and behold, I was probably in my 5th or 6th year working at the hospital, and I kind of wanted to get back and teach. I just didn't know how to do it. And then when I made the decision to do it, the CEO and the CFO called me into their office, and of course, I was nervous because I just put in my resignation at the hospital, and I'm thinking, okay, what did I do wrong? And so they offered me an administration position at the hospital, and of course, being 28 years old and single, no bills, and the potential to make a lot of money, it was very appealing. And it was difficult because what was I to do, and this is the thing that kind of helped me with my decision. The CFO of the hospital, I believe her name was Terry Wentz, she told me, and I think she was trying to give me her sales pitch, and she was telling me that it's the risk takers that get ahead in this world. And I thought about that, and she gave me the weekend to think about it, and all weekend long I kept saying, risk takers get ahead. And of course, you would look at famous people or people who have made millions of dollars, taking a risk and what have you. And I walked in there Monday morning, and I told her, I said, I thought about what you said about risk takers get ahead, and I said, for me, it's a greater risk for me to quit this job or to leave this job and go back to school where I wasn't going to be making this money. I was going to be studying again and writing papers and what have you. And so for me, that was a bigger risk at the time. And it's probably one of the best decisions I ever made. I have a job where it has tremendous flexibility that I can spend some serious quality time with my kids.
Speaking of kids, tell us about your children.
I have 3 children. I have a 16-year-old son, and I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I have a 10-year-old daughter, soon to be 11. And they're just awesome, and actually it's funny because they've actually made me a better teacher, because when you become a parent, you learn the hard way patience and God's grace, and so I try to share that with my students, and I really honestly believe that having those kids in my life just it made me a better teacher.
I agree with you about them teaching you patience and God's
Yes.
grace. I certainly
Yes.
agree with you on that. Well, what about, speaking of teaching, do you have a story about something during your teaching experience, something that's been really special? Or something funny?
I have a lot. But the one thing that I always tell my students is, especially the ones that are interested in teaching, or they have some type of goal that is related to teaching, and I tell them just be who you are, stay consistent. And so I tell them about the time my first real job coming out of my doctoral program. It was at North Carolina A&T State University, and so it was an HBCU, which is a historically black college and university. And a lot of my friends and professional colleagues were like, "Why are you going there? It's a HBCU and it's going to be difficult and this and that." And so it was a challenge. And so I went there, and I just made sure that I was consistent, treated everyone with respect and the same consistency as I would the next person. And they were very standoffish at first, and everything there was the surnames are very important: Dr., Mr., Mrs. Even the staff people, you always had to refer them Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Smith and what have you. So towards the end of the semester, you can tell they start warming up to you. And so I went from Dr. Sherman to Dr. Shizzle. And so that was my name that the students would give me. And just kidding, and in class they wouldn't call me that in public. But I knew then that my philosophy or my take or my attitude towards that situation, just staying consistent, being who you are, and just treat people with respect, that regardless of who they are, they're gonna respect you in turn. And it was a great relationship I had with the students there. It was awesome. And sometimes I'll think like, wow, I should have never left, because it was a great job. It was I had a fantastic boss there, and she was great. So I learned a lot.
Sounds like a really great experience. Sounds like they definitely accepted you.
Yeah, so once in a while my students will call me Dr. Shizzle, the ones I tell the stories to. So it kind of reminds me of those times, my first year teaching.
Is there anything that you would like to say to any of the students that might see this video?
Well, I'm sorry I'm not teaching as much. That was a big thing I had to get over. And I have a year to work it out, and to figure out this position that I'm in, and kind of figure out this is what I truly want, because I really, really love teaching. And anybody or any student that's going to see this, I'm going to miss that about my job. But I can also help in different ways too. I can help make a better quality program, hiring quality faculty, and just being part of that process. So I can still help, but it's just in a different way, and I just got to find that way. And once I do, I think I'll be okay.
Well, Dr. Sherman, we're really excited about you being the new interim chair, and thank you so much for letting me talk to you today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.